that trigger Unity for us to talk and give us, we cut to ourselves. We do a little dissolve just to make it a little nicer. So then over here, right now, and this is exposed to the room, which has pros and cons to it. The con is that it's cold always in this room because we're having to blast the AC to keep all of this running. But these are our 3 racks that are kind of powering everything that's not in these 2 stations here.
Hey guys, Morgan here. I'm kind of the studio engineer, wiring all this stuff up. Internet in and out everywhere. Camera converters, 10 gig Ethernet, steering, power, tally, camera control, video return, all in one cable. Blackmagic multi-views, video hub here, letting us route our signals all over our facility here. Really wish they made an 80 by 80. Part of our system here is the Constellation 8K. You'll kind of see these ultimates here. These are extra ones that we can use to route different signals in, keying out a remote guest over Zoom. Flood Presenter from Blackmagic. Live streams in 4K, which is really nice. 8 HyperDecks. Recording program to recording ISOs of all our cameras. Network rack, Mac Minis and everything in it. Unify stack, so we have their router, their switches, super easy to manage. Everything's app-based. Chattanooga, which is known as Gig City. So we have fiber coming directly into our space here. 25 gigs in and out of our space. Our network kind of segregated out. So we have a studio control network, which has all of our camera equipment, Unreal network, which we'll talk about later, just a guest network. So that if a guest goes to try and watch Netflix while we're doing a live stream or something, it doesn't totally kill your bandwidth. 10 gig network switch. HyperDecks are 10 gig capable. Copy those 4K files super quickly into our NAS. We're able to just copy directly over the network. This is our audio, Waves audio, are a part of the LTN network, which lets us connect with CNN, Fox, ABC, all the major networks. And so they still use old school telephone to be able to carry a conversation between your guest and reporter or talent in their studio. 2 phone calls happening in real time. So they give us 2 phone numbers, one for IFB, which is what our talent hears, and one called PL, which is their control room. So if they need to tell us, hey, zoom in, zoom out, change the framing, we can have that communication with them.
So you send the clean audio with the video, so that's in sync, but the way they're actually communicating with the other person on the other end in the newsroom is through telephone.
Correct. I think it's about 2 to 3 seconds delay. It's not too bad, but enough to throw off a conversation. Yeah. You'll see we have more multi-view 16s. Like I said, we have a ton of them. I think it's like 12 to 15 different Mac Minis. We've got a lot of Mac Minis. We're very Apple based here. Sonnet chassis that you'll see here, PowerPoint, Pro Presenter to do graphics, utility to run like comments, to do OBS to pull all the comments in. If we need a computer for something, we want to have access. So we just have a bunch of them. The Ultra Studios, which we're a big fan of because that lets you do key fill out of Pro Presenter. We're also using Zoom ISO to bring in virtual guests. Big Sonnet Echo
and you
chassis
have the deck links in there for those?
The deck link 8K Pro. And then we're also using Dante to get isolated audio of each participant. You'll see this Netgear switch right here for all our audio traffic via Dante. So we ended up having to get this Netgear switch. There's no internet, there's no nothing on this switch. It is strictly just audio traffic. And this is on Dante's approved network switch list. And they also provided a configuration file that we could load directly on it to set everything to their standard. After we did that, worked great. We haven't had any audio drops or pops or anything like that. This is the Unreal Engine rack, the Ultimate 12 4K, to key everything in real time. Better than software keying. A lot of people think the ATEM keyers are really good, but make it 10 times better. These really let you dial in and do all that fine control with your chroma key. 6 Dell Precision workstations. These are running our Unreal. A computer, a Ultimate, and a camera. Complete chain is what we need to be able to do a virtual production. Only reason we're doing that, a lot of people might be like, well, why can't you use a computer and make like 3 cameras work off of that? We're doing it all in 4K. The second thing is because we're ISO recording. Some people might say, well, could you make a macro to just switch and use one Ultimate? You could, but then you lose out on your ISO. And for us, the ISO feeds are super important. The one here at the bottom is Unreal number 1, and it's kind of our control that talks to all these, synchronizes the project, lets us do all our virtual production. These have the high-end NVIDIA A6000 graphics cards. One of the cool things that we're doing with our workflow is we're using Jump Desktop, which is a remote desktop tool. A lot of people might have heard of Parsec, which is on the Windows side of things. Jump is more Mac friendly and native, which is why we use it. It also allows us to transmit audio from Jump. So our editor, who's remoted into the editing machine, gets the audio in sync out of his speakers at home or wherever they are. So that's really helpful when you're doing remote editing. Also, Jump Desktop just lets us be able to be super flexible. Any of us can jump into any role, whether that's graphics on Pro Presenter or, hey, we need to advance their PowerPoint.
So multiple people could be remoted into a single computer?
Correct. Yeah,
Awesome.
Multiple people can be jumped in at the same time. Something that always lives here is the ATEM multi-views. So the first two multi-views of the constellation, you do have 4 multi-views available to you, live here. And those are for the technical director who's sitting here and calling all the shots and switching all the cameras. And then this multi-view 16, as you saw, we have a bunch of them in our rack, HyperDeck status screen. So this is how we know we're recording. That's how we know how much drive space we have left. In the second row here, we typically have program on these middle screens, and then we have a multi-view 4 that's generating this multi-view on the edge here. And that has our Unity intercom video. So that's a system that we use to have a camera facing us. You'll see these Fuji cameras here on the side. So whenever we're talking to our talent, whether that's a virtual guest on Zoom or in the studio across the hall, they can see us in real time as we talk to them. So that kind of lives there, so we can always see that. Teleprompters directly below that. Zoom, so if we're dealing with Zoom, we can see as people come in and out of the Zoom call. And then we have this little spy cam that just gives us a overall shot of the studio. So now being across the hall, it's not too far, but before, like you were saying, we were able to just turn around and look out the door and be like, hey, that was a great take, or things like that. We do a remote audio workflow using Wave's LV1 platform for mixing live audio fully digitally. So we don't have like a traditional audio console. It's a software that runs on a Mac. It can also run on Windows. And then we have a server that's running all our audio processing plugins. What that means is we can do a lot of audio processing in real time. The same tools that mastering engineers are using. The processing is all happening here locally. What's happening is our audio engineers remote into the computer and they're able to see the console and adjust levels, things like that. And then they're listening on Audio Movers, service that you pay for, and it's streaming in less than 0.2 of a second a high quality audio feed to their studio. And they're listening on their really nice speakers in their sound treated room. They're able to get really nice, quiet, controlled environment, unlike in here where it can be loud and things like that. So they're able to hear every little like detail. Some of them, depending on the engineer, have a fit controller, which is what this is, which is really just a MIDI controller. Just lets you control the faders instead of having to use a keyboard and virtual USB client to be able to get this across the network. So this is plugged into a computer that's back here, but it's controlling the audio computer that's all the way over there in the rack, all through an Ethernet cable. And because it's using internet protocols, our remote engineers that have these controllers connect in via VPN, and the audio machine thinks that their controller is physically plugged in. So imagine a really, really long USB cable just over the internet. You'll see we have a bunch of different Stream Decks, Unity intercom to be able to talk. We have these really nice Shure microphones here, the SM7Bs. Probably overkill for comm audio, but you know, it's nice to have. Kind of doubles for when we do our debrief show. We're able to record all that and have really nice audio. Control room audio is always program audio. Again, this room's not sound treated, so for us, it's just to make sure we have kind of a signal. We really lean heavily on our remote audio engineer. We're using headphones, but we found that that was really isolating us from whatever else was happening around us. We ended up kind of doing away with that, and you'll see these speakers, these little Fostech up here and on the second row. And that's how our audio engineer can talk to us. So they have a button, they're on Unity intercom, they press it, their voice comes out of that so that we don't have to have headphones. They're listening for a car that goes by that's really loud. Or if there's, I mean, they're so in tune to it that if we leave the air conditioner cranked up just slightly higher than normal, they'll hear the fan noise of the air conditioner and call that out. A lot of times it's just they're initially helping us with microphone placement because again, they're not here on site. So they're not here to place the mic. So they're kind of guiding us on mic placement, but typically the director is in direct communication with the audio engineer on things like that. General basis for everything, like I said, we've got the Stream Decks, we're using Companion to control everything. We're all about that client experience machine. We have all these different sound effects that we can trigger that are just kind of fun so that after a take, they can get a round of